everybody. Welcome to another episode of Celebrating Canadians. It's my great privilege to introduce you to Yusuf Mohammed. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good. And Yusuf, how long have you been living in Alberta?
I've been in Alberta for about 11 years, getting to 12 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we're celebrating Canadian stories,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you would be able to help our viewers understand a little bit about what is awesome to you about being in Canada today.
Yeah, I mean, Canada, it's a welcoming country. I've been to several countries and I've lived in different places, and being in Canada is just incredible because many of the people in my circles and friends that I've met here are just accommodating. Their hospitality is incredible, and it's just been easy to transition as a newcomer when I came here about 11 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is awesome. Now I'm sure that most of us don't necessarily know people from Nigeria, and so I was wondering if you would take us back to your childhood. I understand you were born in Nigeria. Help us understand a little bit about what did life look like for you as a young boy growing up in Nigeria.
Yeah, so I mean, I was born and raised in northern Nigeria. Nigeria is it's quite a big country. I think they're estimating over 170 million people.
Okay.
So the largest, the most populous nation in Africa.
Oh, okay.
And so and diverse, very diverse. They have over probably I think about 500 ethnic groups and different languages. So, but from my part of Nigeria, life is different. You can travel in Nigeria within 2 hours and the culture is totally different.
Okay.
But I was born and raised in a village. I had the opportunity to live in a village due to the nature of my parents' work.
Okay.
And so life in the village was different, and then at some point we moved to the city. When we were in the village, I mean, life is different because you did everything from fetching water and walking a few kilometers to bring water home.
Okay.
Getting firewood from the bush and bringing it back home for your parents to be able to cook food. So my chore as a little boy was totally different. It was a daily thing where you
Sure.
got up in the morning and you basically made life work at home as a little boy.
Wow, there you go. And your father was involved in farming himself at that point in time, was he, within the village?
Yeah, so many people in the village where I grew up are involved with what we call subsistence agriculture. So basically,
Okay.
you kind of fend for your own food. During the raining season, you plant, and during harvest, you harvest and you kind of farm everything you eat the next year.
Okay.
And so, I mean, we were working in the farm. We get up early in the morning and you go to farm and you come back in the evening.
Wow.
And that's what you did during rainy season. And during harvest, you harvest and you walk miles and miles to bring the food back home.
And it was just a daily, like you said, a daily occurrence.
It was a daily occurrence. That's what you did. If you were in school, you got a break when you went to school. When you came back home, you eat lunch and you head out to the farm. And
There you go.
worked and you come back. Yeah.
So did you have siblings that you grew up with?
Yes, we're 7 in my family. I'm the middle child.
Okay.
And everyone is back in Nigeria.
Oh, you're the only one
Yeah.
that's away.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you get to go home very often?
Yes, I try to go once in every 2 years. I was there last year. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very nice. So how old were you then when you moved from the village to the city?
Yeah, so we went back and forth because my
Okay.
parents were teachers in Nigeria, so they moved to different cities to
Okay.
teach, sometimes in the villages. So I had the opportunity to live in the city. In the village I was around up to 8 years old, and then we moved to a bigger city, probably a city of about 1 million people or so.
Okay.
And so I spent most of my teenage years in the city. And then at one point we went back to the village again. So I had the opportunity to just move back and forth and
Nice.
experience different communities in northern Nigeria.
Okay,
Yeah.
because of your father's work and his opportunities that way.
Yes.
Wow. So was education important to your folks? I've gotten that impression as I visited with you guys a little bit, that getting you educated as siblings, as you were growing up, was that something that you heard?
Yeah, education is very important, especially in the northern part of Nigeria where I'm from.
Yeah.
There aren't many people that have had the opportunity to go to school. And Nigeria is segregated between, major, between two different religions, basically Christianity and Islam.
Okay, I didn't know that. Let's talk about that a little bit. So when you say it's segregated, what does that mean?
It just means that in the north we have a very strong presence of Islamic education.
Okay.
And so many of the people that if you are a Muslim, you had the opportunity to go to school, and there's a lot of Islamic influence in some of the educational system.
Okay.
And the government schools as well.
Okay.
And so we had the opportunity to definitely go to school, but we had to go to other cities, and especially my family, we were not Islam, we were Christians. So I had to go to other cities to go to school because for my parents, Christian education is very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you literally had to move out of your village to go to school.
Yes.
In order to actually go to Christian school. I did not realize that. I mean, in Canada, we are so blessed the way that we can live right next door to someone, and we all have freedom, and we are all able to be in school, whether it's Christian or public or the private schools or even the Catholic system. We have all of those here.
Yeah.
A little bit more accessible here then.
Yeah, in Nigeria it's a little different. If you go up north, there are very few diverse options for you to choose what kind of education you take. Okay. We do have public schools that are meant for everybody to go to, but I know up north we have, growing up as a kid, there was a lot of more options because we have a strong Islamic influence in northern Nigeria, so there's a lot of different educational systems that people could choose for Islamic education.
Okay.
If you're trying to find Christian education, you have to start moving more southern part of Nigeria, or some middle part of Nigeria have some Christian education options for people to be able to go to.
Okay. Yeah. So from high school and graduating in Nigeria, where did you go next?
So after high school, I went to a computer school.
Okay.
And I took some computer training. It's kind of like a small college.
Yep.
And after that, I actually left my country. I went to South Africa. I joined an organization that has a university called University of the Nation. Okay. And what they do basically is they equip people to go across the world and be able to help people that are in need.
Okay.
And that university has a very strong Christian influence.
Okay.
And so that's kind of my background. So I left and I was in South Africa and did some work in South Africa, took some training, and then from South Africa I went to Switzerland, and I started studying in Switzerland. And while I was in Switzerland, I ran into this beautiful Canadian girl. And my life just took a turn from then.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So you were in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And what were you involved in? What did your day-to-day life look like in Switzerland, and how did you meet this girl?
So I was taking a course in this University of the Nations, and this girl was also part of my class. Okay. And so I met her in a classroom basically, and got interested, and we started a relationship. And that's how really I got to connect with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where was she from in Canada?
She is an Edmonton girl, so she was raised in Edmonton.
Okay.
And so.
All right. And what is her name?
Her name is Karina.
Karina.
Yeah.
And so Karina came home from school with a new husband.
Not quite. Yeah. She. I guess you could say that. Yeah. She came. After that course, she came back, and we actually got to know each other. I came to Canada and visited Canada just to kind of see what Canada looked like. Okay. And I really liked it here. I figured out that there's a lot of people that are nice and and great people. So I really wanted to. I really loved this country, and she had wanted to come back here and go to school. So that's how we actually end up coming back to Canada.
Okay, yeah. So she wanted to continue her education here.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And so was it hard for you to immigrate to Canada at that point in time? Can you tell us a little bit, just so our viewers would understand a little bit, what was the process for you to actually end up staying in Canada?
So yeah, I mean, for me, I met this Canadian girl through school, and when I met her, we developed a relationship, and I chose to move to Canada. So it involved a lot of paperwork.
Sure.
Actually, we started doing the paperwork a year in advance, just collecting a lot of different documents. At one point, I almost changed my mind because I thought, my goodness, why am I doing all this paperwork just to come to a country? Yeah, I was born and raised in Nigeria, but at that time I was living in Switzerland, and it was a beautiful country. I loved it there.
Yeah.
But hey, you can do anything if you find someone that you love and care for, right? So I did a lot of paperwork, basically collecting every documentation about me, where I was born, where I went to high school. It took us about a year to put this paperwork together, and then all that paperwork got sent back to West Africa. In Ghana was the headquarters of Canadian embassy. And so we submitted all that paperwork, and yeah, and within, I was actually lucky. Usually it could take 2 to 4 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
to get the paperwork, but we were lucky. Within about 3 months, miraculously, we got my permanent resident.
Yeah. And so are you still a permanent resident?
I am a citizen.
You are?
I became a citizen in 2012, I believe. Yeah.
All right. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. It was big. I mean, after moving to Canada and living here, I love the people, but you know, all my kids are born here. I have 3 children. And so Canada is really more like a home for me right now. I really, apart from Nigeria, I don't know anywhere better.
There you go. Well, that's a great thing to hear you say.
Yeah.
So, as far as settling in, did you notice some huge cultural differences between Nigeria and Canada, or between Switzerland and Canada when you were settling in here?
Yes, there's a lot. I mean, between Nigeria and Canada, Nigeria is it's a different culture. We're family oriented. We're also, and I say family oriented, I mean extended family oriented. So we have different communication styles. We have different hospitality ways of doing hospitality, and so things are quite different, and I have to learn. I don't think that one is better than the other. I mean, in Nigeria, people can come to your house and visit, and they don't have to tell you they're staying the night. They make the decision while they're there. And it's up to the host to just kind of, all right, well, you guys are staying overnight. Yeah, okay. You make the bedroom, and they might end up staying for 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And
not thinking that would really work well in
Canada,
so
right? it's totally different in Canada. Communication is also a total different way of doing things. We're a very inclusive culture, and so when we communicate, we always think of the group. We always think that, for example, if you and I are talking right now, I mean, many people in Canada wouldn't just badge into the conversation. In Nigeria, it's okay for people to come into the conversation, and as we see them, we just include them in the conversation. And so communication is totally different in that sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So, because we're going to spend the next half of the show talking about what you're involved in here locally in the Medicine Hat area and internationally as a result, what would you say, why is community important? If you were talking to somebody who is alone out there and feeling disconnected, you obviously had something within you that was nurtured even as a child, where having family and that extended family and hospitality to whomever the stranger was that showed up at your door, those things have obviously been important to you growing up and have sort of shaped the guy that you've become today. What would you say to someone about getting connected?
Yeah, I think that for new people into our community, I think it's one of the things that has helped me, living in Canada, but also in different communities, is really getting involved, finding out what this community means in the context of the new country that you're in. And making an effort to participate in what community means to those people. And in any country that I've been, there's no culture that you've shown an initiative that you want to learn about their culture that they resent you and push you back. There are very few people that would do that. For local people, an encouragement would just be to invite people.
Oh,
People
okay.
always feel loved and cared when they're invited. And so when someone is trying to show an effort in, being part of the community, it's always good to embrace them and take them to the next level. Hey, come in, join.
That's
Even offer them more.
sure.
And people would open up. And most people, when they travel, they come to a new community. They move there with the intention to be part of the community.
Absolutely.
And they're willing to eat things they don't eat, to do different things. I remember when I lived in Switzerland, I mean, cheese is not something we just eat in Nigeria. We don't preserve cheese, right?
Okay.
So, and I mean, today cheese fondue is one of my favorite things to do because
you were taught how to do it.
Yeah,
and
people invited me to try it, and I tried it and I loved it. It's just not a concept for anyone where I was born.
Sure.
They just don't eat cheese.
All right, well, what we're going to do, Yusuf, is we're going to come back and we're going to talk about all the many ways in which you've been connecting with people here locally. And I'm sure we're going to learn about more than just cheese in the next segment. Come on back. Hey everybody, welcome back to a special Celebrating Canadians session here with Yusuf Mohammed. And a new Canadian. He's been in Canada for just 11 years and involved in something really exciting. Now, is this a project specifically to the Medicine Hat College, or is it really wide open to everybody? How did this begin?
It's, this organization is called The Connection, Intercultural Association of Medicine Hat. We started the organization when I was going to school at Medicine Hat College.
Okay.
And I noticed an international student who was just sort of, on her own, and I started to pay attention to what's happening with the international people on campus. And I thought, well, you know what, I like to invite some of these people to my house and meet some of my friends.
Sure, those hospitality gifts that you were talking about earlier.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And so we invited the students over to our house, my wife and I, and then the student actually came with a few friends.
Okay.
And then the next time we talked about meeting, they had a lot more friends that could fit in our own house.
Okay.
And so we thought, well, you know what, let's do this somewhere else. So we went to Kinkuli. Within 3 months, this group grew to about 60 people.
Wow.
And it was, college students, was people from the community. So this organization ended up being something for the community. And over the last few years, we've had hundreds and hundreds of people that moved to this community, become part of this organization.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to do something special here. We're actually going to watch a video that Yusuf and your partner in crime have done this together, right?
Yes, a few of us that are part of it, yes.
Okay, so they've put something together for us. I'm excited for you to get to know Connection Village just a little bit better here now.
So back when I came to Canada in 2006, I first attended a connection event. My first connection event was in May 2006. And when I came to that event, I felt really welcomed. And growing up in Germany, I didn't have a lot of cross-cultural exposure with other nations or any other cultures, really, for the matter of fact. So when I was exposed to probably about 5 or 6 different nations right away, I felt like, wow, this is something, and all of them had something different to offer, and it was just an amazing experience. And we shared meals together, had different dishes from all around the world, and that was a big part. I enjoy food a lot, and so that was a really good experience for me. And we played different games, but then we also found some common grounds, and that was really positive experience for me when I first moved from Germany to Medicine Hat. I felt welcomed in this community, and I felt like I'm not alone here. There's more than myself, and more people going through the same experience, and there was Canadians, and that invited us into their homes, and so there's a very positive experience.
My name is Borasong. My friend Mina Lee, she went to here Medicine Hat College 1 year ago, and she recommended to to apply to Connection. So I applied Connection in September, and I met my mentor in Connection Supper. And Sandra and Ron is really, really kind. They are. So I met them several times, and we had great experience together. We went to ice hockey, and Sandra made cookie, and we ate together. And she always corrects my grammar error, because I wanted to correct my error, because someone doesn't correct my error, then I just use false English always. So she corrects always. So I feel really appreciate to her.
So I moved here in 2005, and when I moved here, I started taking a class in Medicine Hat College. And during that time, I noticed a Japanese student in the class. And one of the things that I did after the class was to go and talk to the Japanese student, and we got to know each other after a few weeks of attending that class. And then I invited her over to my house. And when she came over to my house, she asked if she could bring some friends with her, and she came with the friends, about 3 of them. And during that time, we got to know each other, and we heard the stories of these international students that came from Japan and South Korea and Taiwan to study in Medicine Hat College. We found out that their lives are pretty isolated, and while we were talking, my wife and I, our eyes were open to see that the international community is isolated here. There's not much for them to do or be a part of. And we realized that there's a huge need for this international people. They wanted to connect with people socially. They wanted to encounter the culture. They wanted to be part of the Canadian lifestyle. And many of them came to North America for such experience. So we offered to help. We had a few network of friends in the community at that time, and we invited our friends to join some of our meals together. We had plans, and these international students went and invited more of their friends. Before you realize, we started this informal dinners together and cooking together. But these informal dinners in our home, outgrew our space. We grew to over 15 people by the time we had our second meeting. By the time we had our third meeting, there were going to be 30 people joining. So we thought, well, we can't fit these people in a 750 square foot condo. So we moved to an outdoor facility. We went to Kinkuli, and we started having parties. And before we realized, within 3 months, this group grew to about 60 people. And this is how the connection continued to grow. People hear about the connection and telling their friends about the connection. One of the things that was significant in our journey in the connection is the people that have come through the connection over the last few years. People from all over the world, about 60 different countries from, I would say, about 4 continents came. And during this time, these are people that we've sat on the table, we've played games together, we've had interactive times together in events. Some of them came up with some of the best ideas for social networking events that I've ever seen in my life. We had our friends from Latin America say, well, we have a party called Fiesta Latina. Why don't we teach you guys? And we said, you're welcome. Let's have a Fiesta Latina. And this journey has also been significant for some of our young people that have been involved in the connection. It's really helped to enhance their intercultural competence and then prepare them for the workplace. And so this partnership between local and international people have been beneficial for both local people and international people. Over the years, we've seen many leaders produce out of this. We've seen many young people pursue their destiny, and some of them are key leaders today in the workplace. They understand intercultural negotiations. They understand business negotiations that has to do with across cultures due to the interactions that they have had over the last few years of working with people from all over the world.
Well, wasn't that awesome? And Yusuf, what a great job you guys did. You have some technology skills. I see your parents' schooling fees all paid off.
Well, lots of volunteers. I can't take
Yes.
credit for that.
Oh, there was a volunteer did this.
Yeah,
for you.
we have.
Right.
This is an actually international student that took the visual communication class at the college.
Okay.
So produced this video for us.
Aw,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's
It's
very
just, it's absolutely awesome. Now, I was thinking about Bora and just talking about, I mean, this isn't just community and fellowship and friendship and socialization, but she was really learning English
Yes.
through the program. Let's talk about how important that is.
Yeah, so a few years ago when we started this organization and things were going on, one of the needs that we realized is that when people move into a community, language is a big part of
Sure.
it. Communication, people need to understand the language, and so a lot of people showed interest in actually partnering with local Canadians and being part of daily lives. And so we
Okay.
created this one-to-one mentoring program whereby people can sign up and they would sort of like adopt somebody for their time that they're here in
Okay.
Canada or in the community, and help them with the English language speaking skills.
Okay.
And they can take them and they can immerse them into the culture, from being part of community events to showing them around,
Sure.
inviting them to birthdays, weddings. Those are key ways in people learn languages, by being immersed into the culture, because language is just more than speaking. It's actually understanding the symbols and the context of what people are talking about. So our
Absolutely.
mentoring program helps people to be able to do that, because you're
Okay.
just immersed into the entire culture,
Sure.
as opposed to just learning the technical skills of English.
Sure, because I would assume a lot of these international students are already living in someone's home or they're living in res.
Yeah.
So this would be a separate opportunity to meet new people, see their culture. I mean, if they came to our house, we would all be eating like old Mennonite food, and
That's
you know,
right.
those are some of our family traditions and
Yes.
whatnot.
Yeah.
So if I were wanting to sign up, Yusuf, how do I do that?
Okay, so on our website, connectionvillage.org,
Yes.
there is a part of our programs called mentoring, and you can apply to be a mentor.
Okay.
And for even newcomers to Canada, they can actually apply there, and we would pair them up with a mentor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are some of the organized activities that you'll have over a year with your students that those mentors might be able to participate with also?
Yeah, so they're able to, we have different events.
Okay.
We run them pretty much once every 2 months or so.
Okay.
We have an event called International Networking Night, and we do
Okay.
that at a coffee shop. We've been doing one at Station Coffee Company.
Okay.
And it's once a month, and on our website under our events, you get to see the dates that those programs are
Okay.
available. But it's an evening whereby people come together, they have coffee or whatever they want to
Yeah.
drink, and we play interactive games, and games that would help you to learn about diversity, about each other.
Okay.
And so we have local people and international people, both some students, some from the local community, come out to those events, and
Okay.
they learn about each other. Other events we have actually a soccer tournament that
Oh
happens.
yes, I saw the pictures. That
Yeah,
was cool.
during the June, second or third week of June every year.
Okay.
And people play soccer barefoot.
Oh,
and it's
wow.
a charity benefit that we do.
Okay.
And sometimes we donate locally, sometimes we donate internationally.
Okay.
We also have a boating event. So local people from the community would volunteer and bring out their boats to 40 Mile.
Okay.
And it happens every third week of July.
Okay.
So those are things that people could be a part of.
Sure.
We do events like Winter Explosion is a
Oh, yeah.
day trip to Elkwater, and people
Okay.
who have never tried tobogganing before, skating and skiing would have the opportunity to do that. Last year we did ice fishing.
Oh,
a
I've never
jump-
even done that.
There you go. So we
Sort
have a
of
lot of
scares
people.
me. I don't know. But
So yeah.
aw, that is
So
so
just
awesome.
different. We have progressive suppers. Those
Okay,
are
yes.
a big hit. People can sign up and volunteer to open up their homes, and they can host a meal. And we send in people that are participants to
Okay.
go to different homes and eat food, and then we all meet together in one big location
Oh
for
my
dessert.
gosh.
So There are tons of things that people can be a part of.
And it sounds like if I was curious, if I knew I didn't have a lot of time, I would still be welcome to pop over to the coffee night or some of those kinds of things.
At any time. That's what we
Okay.
do. We're open to anybody at any time to drop it.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've had just a wonderful time getting to know Yusuf Mohammed, learning about this amazing connection village that we have right here in Medicine Hat, Alberta. I'm expecting that you might get calls, Yusuf, how can we do this on our local campus? Have you got a few of those in the past?
For
Setting up a connection village in a different city, somebody else wanting to do so.
we are open. We've
Yeah?
had a few calls from other communities that have talked to us and said, hey, we want to try that, but that was a few years ago. So
Sure.
yeah, and sometimes people who move from here move to other communities and
Sure.
they try to do what we start here in Medicine Hat.
Well, it sounds like an amazing project. Thank you for sharing your story. We wish Yusuf and his beautiful family just all the best in Canada as you continue
Thank
to
you.
give back to this nation that you've chosen to call home.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.